So now that we have a good grip of JavaScript, at least 15 weeks worth of instruction, I'd like to show you something really fun that we can do with what we know now. And specifically, we'll be using something called Apache Cordova. This allows us to develop mobile applications using nothing but what you know, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So basically, if you wanted to create a mobile app, if you had a great mobile application idea, you'd have to learn Objective-C and Swift to publish to iOS. For Android, you'd have to learn Java. Well, Cordova, and it's not alone, there are other frameworks that help us do this, allow us to publish HTML, CSS, and JavaScript to multiple platforms with that one code base. So it saves us a lot of time and effort, and I use this for many of my apps as well. Any of my data-driven apps, I use Apache Cordova for them. It's not quite as robust and useful when you want to animate something, but considering we just learned Jquery mobile, let's turn that into a native app. So what I'm going to do first is, I'm in Mac right now, I'm going to open up my terminal. Now if you have no experience with this, just try to follow along. If you want to do a mobile app, I would watch this first and then start researching a little bit more about Apache, because it has the ability to access native device APIs. And that means it can access the hardware of your device with JavaScript. So what we need to do this is something called Cordova. Now, I use the Node package manager for this. And if you want to try that, you can go to this website, nodejs.org, and go to the download page and either click the Mac installer or the Windows installer. Now once that's installed, you can use the Node package manager to install Cordova. So I have my terminal up, and I'm going to go ahead and do node-v. That tells me the version of Node that I'm running. Okay, great. So let's go ahead and do npm. And if you've never used the package manager, it's really easy. You just give it a command, and it'll find most software and install it for you. So even though Cordova exists on Apache, cordova.apache.org, the Node package manager will simply install it for me. So I'm going to go ahead and do npm install Cordova. And this will just take a second to install. I already have it installed. So if it is installed, what will happen is it'll update for you. So all we have to do is create Cordova projects and then build them, and then we can emulate them to test. But it's going to be a very simple process. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the same Jquery mobile that I went over last week. So I'm going into our course materials. I'm going to go to week 15, and we're going to grab that Jquery mobile example, and I'm going to publish that. So this is December 15th. You see my little circle up here. It's running just a little slower right now. So these are the Jquery mobile demos, and this is the mobile template. So what I want to do is take this block of code, and I'm going to download it and make sure that I have access. So we'll go ahead and publish that natively. We'll do it to both Android and iOS. So this is my bash client, and right now I just installed Cordova. So what I can do now is do Cordova-v, and it's going to look up Cordova, and it should tell me in just a second what it is. And it says, okay, update available. I'm currently, and it'll even give you the how to update. So I am going to go ahead and update this, and I'll pause it when I do. So now everything's loaded properly. I can do a Cordova-v, and it'll tell me my version should be 7.1, which is the latest. And what we're going to do is we're going to do cd, which is change directory. If you're in Windows, it would be chdir. And I'm just going to go to my desktop real quick so you can watch this being built. All I'm going to do is create one simple native app. So I'm going to do Cordova create, and let's do demo. And then I use what's called my pass domain, and that's mm214. It's in reverse. It's a reverse package name. So I'm going to call this com.mm214 demo, and then we're going to do it in a demo folder. So we'll leave that there for a second and explain it. I'm calling on Cordova in this line to create a project called demo. This is my package identifier, which when I publish to either Google Play or iTunes Store, it will identify me as the developer. And then this will be the name on the folder. So I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. And hopefully I get a little demo folder here. And there it is. So there's my demo folder. And basically I'm going to create new platforms. So what I'm going to do now is cd, change directories, and step into that demo folder. Now I'm in the demo folder. You can see that right here. And if I type in ls, I'm listing all the files and folders in that folder. But what I want to do now is add the code I need to make an Android application and one to make an iOS application. So I'm going to do Cordova, platform, and first thing we're going to do is add iOS. And let's see how we do on this. So it's using Cordova to make all the libraries that we need to publish our HTML, CSS, and JavaScript into an iOS application. So if we look at the platforms here, you see iOS folder just appeared. That means we just created an iOS app. Right now, it would run, but it would be blank. So great, let's go ahead and add an Android application as well. I'm going to hit the up arrow, and you see that immediately filled the space there with my latest command. Now I'm going to do Android. And now we should watch on this side, and we should see Android get created. So it just takes a second, but the beauty of this is we're going to put our website right in here. And then when we publish it, it's going to be published into Android and iOS. So if you look here, we have CSS, IMG for images, index, and JS. I'm going to go ahead and delete all of them. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Android mobile template, which is all of these files inside here, and I'm going to just paste it into my demo. Just like that. Just very simple. You can develop locally and then just learn how to publish. Of course, it's more difficult than what I've shown because you have to kind of test a lot with real devices and understand the nuances of these things. But I'm going to go ahead and initially just publish an iOS application here. So I'm going to do Cordova Build Ios. So it's basically taking my HTML and building them into an iOS application. So hopefully this works. We can see our terminal on the left and it's building. And what I'm going to do in the meantime is I'm going to open up my iOS folder inside the platforms. And this doesn't always work, by the way. Sometimes you have to prepend your command with what's called a sudo command that gives you permissions to build. But so far I haven't seen any errors, so I think we're looking pretty good. So again, just to reiterate, we're taking this block of code right here, and what we're going to do is make it into a native app. So it's still building here. In the meantime, I can open up this Xcode project, let it build. It could take a second. But once I build this, I can go ahead and publish it, and you know what I'll do? I'll start an emulator. So this right here is an iOS emulator. And while we're waiting, we'll start that up. And then once this is done, we should be able to publish. So it does take a second, and in this case, I did take quite a bit of that mobile template is in development, of course, and it should work, but there's a lot of files in there, as you know if you looked at it from last week. So this is our iOS emulator, and it's straight from software called Xcode, which is what I'm opening now. And what I want to do is, it does take a second to load, but you can emulate a lot of neat things like rotation, orientation, shaking. We've come quite a ways with our with our technology as far as emulators. So hopefully this is still running. I see no problem with it. What I am going to do is open up now the Xcode project. I'm only doing this to emulate. You wouldn't need to do anything more. And I am going to pause this until the build is complete.